So my first business venture. So after the original sort of itch was scratched in terms of my interest in photography and the whole process of learning the technicals, learning the camera, learning the concepts that comes with photography, the composition, exposure, that kind of thing. Um, because I was part of a group in London, a photography group where we went and we would organize shoots, studio shoots, organize models, other photographers. We would offer critique to our peers and that kind of thing. And it was a point where no, I'm acquiring more stuff, I'm building more gear, and I've got to pay for this at some point, right? So I decided I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna start charging people for this. So I started looking into that, and I think that was the start of the whole entrepreneurial part of it, and the business side of it. So that was the first business I was about to start, and it was around that time that my son was about to be born, actually. And I was thinking, okay, what about if we started a newborn and maternity studio? And my thinking behind this was that babies are being born every day. So, there's a lot of pregnant people around, and there's a lot of babies being born. And you can get, if you were to, for example, target a pregnant mother, which is not hard to do on socials, then you would either get both the maternity and the newborn photo shoot, or in at least one of them. So it shouldn't have been a hard target market to kind of get hold of and build a business from. That was my thinking from a business point of view. Although that was kind of the first time I've realized that niching down and getting good at something would be a good bet. So yeah, started off into that, established the business, built up all the back end, running a business as an entrepreneur was quite a new thing at that point. So just understanding all the nuances, the behind the scenes stuff, as well as getting the right equipment, getting the right props, getting the right backgrounds, getting a place. So this was quite key as well. It's quite pivotal in terms of getting a studio space now to operate that. And when I started, I was using a spare bedroom in my house as the studio. So I set up a backdrop, I had the lightings. It was quite an intimate space, to say the least. And imagine having to use the same space to prep a newborn baby or a mother or an expectant mother. At the time, my partner was helping out with a lot of this stuff, especially where it related to handling a newborn baby, and as well as the privacy of an expectant mother. And I will just do the photography, set up the lights, and take the photographs to the editing. So that was the birth of it. And then as a starter, that worked, and that was where that started. I decided I'm going to need a space. We're going to need a space. Looking at overheads at the time to get a commercial space to launch a studio was a little bit expensive, and I had an idea that I would build a studio to the back of my house. And I looked into that, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. So ended up doing that within the confines, within the restrictions of what that building or that piece of a space would look like. I had restrictions, in terms of how high it could be and so on, but at least I would have a more space. I would have a dedicated place for clients to come, and it would look, a bit more professional as well, and not kind of have people just, sort of in the house in the same space. So that's what I did. And the reasoning and my thinking behind that as well was that because there's always that, if the business were to fail or it didn't work out, things didn't work out, what was I going to do? Because I'm investing, money to build this place. Yeah, I thought if it didn't work out, I've got a man cave. I can, go and do what I need to do down there, or a recreational space or a gym or something. So it wasn't too much of a big thing or a big decision to be convinced. I just got it done anyway. So got the studio space at the back, and that's kind of where we operated from, and kind of built this whole business around, the experience of a maternity shoot and what that would look like, and kind of selling that package. So it was more of I would say a luxury product or luxury service, as opposed to a need. Like, people don't need photography, really. Especially now, you got a mobile phone. So it was more of a luxury, and so having to package that and sell it as for what it was quite important. I think around the time, I don't know if anybody heard about Sue Bryce. She is a huge photographer in New York, and then she was kind of doing mentorship on how you can do that kind of thing, or you can package that, how you can upsell it, how you can make it, So I went through and followed all that, and it was a successful business for the time that we did it. So that was kind of my first foray into business as a photographer, and it was during that time when the pivot or the change came, and the transition came from photography to video. So we did it for a couple of years, and I started doing video as a way of attracting new clients to the service and showing them the behind the scenes, because at this point with the package we even included a masseuse, so that the pregnant mom could have a pregnancy massage at the beginning of the shoot, and the whole experience would just be quite relaxing and that kind of thing. So I started doing videos, behind the scene videos of the process, of the experience that you can expect in a bid to sell that. So that was a part of the advertising strategy. So I was using the same camera that I was using for photography to do the video clips, and I was using this this online video editing tool called Animoto. Not sure if anybody come across Animoto, but it was quite rudimental, but it worked. You can add music, you can add transitions and that kind of thing. So that was pretty cool, and I started dabbling in video. That was my first foray into video as such, or if you want to call it video production, but dabbling in that, and then I started doing more and more and more, like I say, to help to advertise that photography business. And I thought I kind of like this video thing. Looked into it a bit further, and I kind of started to grow an understanding of what it would take if I were to start creating videos for other people who wanted to advertise services of or their business. So that would mean more equipment, that would mean more lighting, that would mean maybe a camera that is better with video, because at that time I was just using my photography camera to do video clips and so on. So yeah, that was the transition point where I started doing videos, and that business lasted maybe 2 to 3 years until we kind of wound that up, and then I transitioned into video and started doing videos for brands. It was mostly corporate video at this time. So yeah, that was the end of that particular path, and sort of giving you an idea into how video became, or video took over from photography in that respect. So that was the end of the photography era, and now we transitioned into video, and I'm creating videos for brands and businesses to use as part of their advertising. But what I also learned with the transition as well is that, even when we were selling a really good photography product or photography service, it was a luxury. And in times where, in downtimes, for example, where it was harder to convince people to sort of part with their monies for a luxury product, for a photography shoot, for a photo shoot, essentially. So what I noted, the difference was that businesses and brands, it was a necessity to have video to actually advertise their businesses, so they can sell more and they can make more money, essentially. And this was a time where, video content was really coming up on the rise, and it was all video, or content is king, or video content is king. It was around that time, so it was a really good place to be when that transition had actually happened. So that was where went from photography to a video business at this point. And the name changed from, Newborns by Ken Photography was the trading name, to Kurt Noel Creative. Yeah, Kurt Noel Creative Media. So that was the transitioning point. And here we are. So in the next chapter, I'm going to be telling you more about how the video part, or the video production business started and sort of took off.